Dude, let's start at the beginning, man. Tell me a little bit about when you knew you wanted to get into music. What drew you to not just music, but playing music and being a singer and all of that good stuff?
Well, I was one of those teens that it was like music was my religion. And, every time I got a new CD or whatever, I'd tear it open real quick and be reading the lyrics and be all about it, excited and everything like that. It was like my religion, man. So, and that was how I was. I was crazy about music, period. It's always been mostly the metal genre. But, and then joking around, I would sing to some of the music, and my girlfriend, of course, was around and told me told me that there's ghosts in your background.
I don't want you to see that.
It's the ghosts of wives past.
Whoa, okay. Um.
That
Anyway,
came out
my girlfriend
wrong.
told me I'm a really good singer. Um. She heard me sing, and I was goofing around. I think I was singing to one of my friends, like some love song. You know how I am
Yeah.
with you guys, and
Yeah.
that I was singing some love song to a friend of mine or something, being silly, and she was like, "Wow, you should be a singer." And I've always wanted to. I just didn't have the confidence until people said, that I should try it. So, I put together a few friends. I had a drummer friend. I had his brother was a guitarist, so I put something together. That didn't last very long because, to be honest with you, when I first started, uh, people wasn't digging my voice. So
Really?
yeah, it was strange. I had that presence about me, and we were just practicing in somebody's house or something. But friends around was just like, you know what, man, maybe you should be singing pretty songs or soft songs or something. I'm not sure metal's for you.
Right.
And telling me, my vibrato was too, I don't know, too much, and they just anyway, I was just like, well, okay, all right, well, I gave it a shot, and then I thought, well, I'm just gonna dig in. Then I'm gonna practice this stuff. You know what? I'm feeling this passion. I want this, and I just dug in. I started practicing with all the things that they critiqued me on. Um, and then later on, I gave it another shot. Well, I mean, that's the beginning anyway.
Right.
Uh, I, it doesn't really get into anything formal until after I was a Christian. My life was too much of a mess really to do anything other than small projects and stuff like that back then.
Right.
Anyway,
Right. At what
that's started as far as my desire to be a musician and stuff. My
at what
girlfriend.
point did at what point did From These Ruins come along then? Like how far into this after that did From These Ruins just originally start to kind of take formation, take shape?
Well, I was quite a while after. Um, that was like 5 years after becoming a Christian or more, at least, because I was in other bands before that as a Christian. I
Okay.
had like, yeah, I had like three Christian bands before From These Ruins.
Gotcha.
Uh, but for whatever reason, this or that, and we went far sometimes. I mean, we made a name for ourselves locally and stuff like that, but at some point, things were just not working out, and I said, you know what, I'm over it. There's just drama. I'm over it. I quit, and I walked away from being in a band. I started doing my own side projects. I still got music from that. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah. Just like I had a 16 track digital recorder and was just sitting making my own songs. I could play the guitar. I could use computer um, drum beats and stuff like that. So I was doing that. And in the midst of that, old buddy Jeff come along. Jeff,
Oh
and
yeah.
he was
Oh
like, man, we need to give this another shot. And I was just like, man, I don't know. I've had my fill, and he talked me into it. He's like, let's just give it another shot. So And he was the first of From These Ruins to start.
Gotcha.
And he's the one that came to me, and he's not even in the band anymore. He had shoulder surgery and stuff like that, but man, I love that guy. And we're still,
He was awesome.
friends. But yeah, that's the beginning of From These Ruins. He came to me, and I mean, I could go through the whole spiel here. He came to me, and he convinced me to give it another shot. So he was on the guitar. I had some PA equipment. I went ahead and sang. I had just like this little beat machine. And we didn't need a drummer. And I was just like, man, until we find a drummer, let's just do something so that we feel active. Right. So on our drum machine. And we were coming up with songs. I mean, it wasn't terrible. Actually, some of those songs made it onto the Brotherhood EP.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, long lost Brotherhood EP.
Yeah. I think trying to think. I think Biblicon was one of them that came from that era. Yeah. Maybe one or two of the others. But anyway, so we were just doing that, and we were looking for members. We tried out a few drummers, and it just wasn't right. And I was back then. I was with Sprint. Was my carrier for my phone, and I would go into Sprint, and get my phone worked on or get a new phone or whatever. And Chad was there. He worked there, and I don't know how it came up, but he was talking about how he had toured with Seven Dust, and he was a drummer, and I was just like, okay.
Right. And we hear that from a lot of people.
Yeah. I was just like, hey, what do you think about trying out? I could just feel something was there. I just knew something was right. And he was just like, yeah, man, maybe, he had some issues from the past. And eventually I just kept talking. Every time I go in there, I'd say, hey, man, why don't you try it out? And thing is, he didn't have a drum set. So once I said, hey, man, I've got a drum set sitting there. And he was like, oh, well, okay, I'm coming, see what happens. He was skeptical. I'm not gonna lie. He was skeptical to try out. And then when not to toot my own horn, but once he heard me sing, he felt like, okay, I can give this a shot. I can continue with this, because he was worried about, what was I gonna sound like, and he felt like, yeah, I can continue with this. And then and right at the same time, I had another bass player from another band that came in with me. And so we had Chad, and it was Oscar at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, way back.
Yeah.
Chad and Oscar at the same time came in together. And so here we got Jeff, me, Oscar, and Chad. And it was feeling pretty good. Tim came from another band that let him go. I won't go into that. I'm not going to go into that, but yeah. So we got him on Rebound, actually. And
nice.
Him and their lead guitarist tried out at the same time. And we knew once we listened to the both of them, Tim had the right style. He had the right, sound that we were looking for. So we knew that he was our man if he would join us. He did. And it was at that point that we were all, once all that was in place, they started, I think Chad just started some beat, and Tim just started playing the guitar. We're all laughing and joking this whole time, during this rehearsal. We didn't have a lot of music going, but they started playing this, and I was looking around. I literally stepped back and was just looking and seeing this group of guys and seeing how awesome we were with each other, and the word brotherhood come to mind. They were playing this tune, and I just started singing the lyrics to Brotherhood right then. Hence, Brotherhood, because I could just see the camaraderie of all of us together, and that's where that came from. Anyway, what else you got?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna give it to you. I'll give it to you. So from that part, from these ruins, that part of the history, I know, but not a lot of people may know. From these ruins now is nothing like what From These Ruins was back then. What are some of the differences between the band now and the band back then? Because there's been a lot of evolution, a couple of band members here and there throughout and whatnot. But what's the band like now, even musically, and I guess brotherhood-wise between you guys compared to what it was back then?
Well, first of all, From These Ruins once was called Descendant. So we had a private team. Yeah, that was way back in the beginning. We were Descendant, and we got signed actually to a small record label. About 5 months into being a band, someone saw us and wanted to sign us, and did some research, found out that there was another band called Descendant, and said we needed to come up with another name. And that was Chad's willing to come up with the name, actually. He just popped out the words, and I knew that fit real well with Scripture. So there's the beginning of the name. But as far as what took place, honestly, when we were first signed, that record label was unsure where to place us, because everything we had done up to that point was so very Christian, was so very more churchy, I guess you could say. We hadn't played out into, I mean, it was only 5 months. We had only stuck to like Christian venues and stuff like that. And he just didn't know what to do with us, beyond that. And nor did we. We hadn't really gave it much thought. We were just, in the very beginning stages. So what seemed to be very Christian, I realized soon, we need to branch out. Not to say that we need to be more secular, as opposed to we need to let secular people see the right side of Christian artists. And we began to go into, bars and, just anywhere. I mean, we would play with anyone, anywhere. And we began to transition from being, like in the beginning, we would be at a venue and we would have people cheering on Jesus Christ. I mean, you can't do that in just any venue, but we did. Right. Every time we would have people cheering for God and stuff. And so we had to learn how to transition into a position where we could not only cater to those that wanted to hear about God, but those that didn't. And we had to learn how to become sort of a bridge, a link between those two worlds. And I think that we've pulled that off really well, to where people can know what we're about and yet respect us for it. And we bring both sides together quite often, and we've been noticed for that. So many other artists would point out the fact that they felt so comfortable, they didn't feel weird about being with a Christian band, and they felt like we were bringing together two worlds, the secular and the Christian, and showing that everyone that we can get along and respect each other for our own beliefs. Some people were influenced to become Christians. Some people just respected that, that's what we did. And even though that's not what they're about, but just knew that we were some good guys and respected their beliefs. So that as far as that's concerned, we transitioned until we got to the point where we're at today, where we can do it all, and love everyone and let them know. I mean, it was never meant to be, how do I say, exclusive, but we just had to learn how to bring both worlds together. So there's that transition. As far as musically, to be honest with you, that all came from Chad and Tim. They were the key in our musical development. I don't know that I've changed a whole lot. I've followed their likings or their desires musically. As they change musically, I just would go with that. So they were growing musically. Chad really developed his art, as well as Tim would sit with his guitar for hours and hours. And you can hear, if you look at old music to newer music, the transition is vast. I mean, we've come a long way. We became really tight musically. We know what we're doing. When one does one thing, the other knows what to do. Even our look, we started off. It was a kind of a menagerie as far as no cohesive look, and even that has changed since then. As you're aware, you remember seeing us in the very beginning.
Yeah,
I think you saw us at what, like Lamb Jam or something?
Yeah, 2011. Yeah.
Way
I recently
back.
dug up those photos, actually. I was like, wow, I can't believe I still have these.
Yeah. Like you said, man, all you got to do is just ask me questions. I'll just go on, man.
It makes it easy, man. I wanted to, if you want to, talk a little bit about how, because I guess your spiritual journey and your faith a little bit, as much as you want to go into, and how, I guess after that, just talk a little bit about how your faith has influenced the lyrics of the band.
Right on. Well, I mean, as far as my spirituality, it began when I realized that I was just dissatisfied with life in general. I looked around and I thought, success measured by so many people is not the success that I feel would complete me. In things like careers or whatever, it just totally turned me off. I was just not into the world's version of success, and I was just completely dissatisfied. And I did a search. I went to several libraries and did a lot of research into, let's see if there's anything else out there. I want to know. I'm going to do my own search and see if there's anything else out there. Even though I don't believe there is, I'm going to check it out just in case, because like I said, I was just dissatisfied with, just working or whatever, or going to school back then. And I read everything. I looked into every religion. I looked into so many different philosophies and so forth. And I mean, I dabbed in supernatural things, dabbled, I should say, in supernatural things like that, just to look into that kind of stuff. What all that led into goes really, really, really deep, and it goes really, really dark. As you've heard some of that. I recently finally sat down and wrote out my testimony of what really transpired there, and what brought me to be a Christian. And it's pretty dark. It's and yet it's enlightening at the same time. And sure, that I wrote it down. It's being processed and put in, edited and put into a book form now, but it's not going to be my book. It's going to be in a book with other testimonies. Yeah. I'm excited and yet a little fearful how people's going to respond to this when they see who I was and the things that I did. You know, I don't want people to look at me differently in a negative aspect, but they need to know the true story, and it may open some people's eyes that don't believe or that have been through the same things. But anyway, yeah, there.
Oh.
I came from some really dark places, and it took, after I got so deep into messing up my life, all this search did was, you know, it was like flushing the toilet, man. I mean, I got so deep into so many different things, and I was already having a lot of difficulties with, I had multiple relationships with women. I was abusing alcohol and drugs and so on and so forth. It took, before I could take my passion for music and bring it back into my life after becoming a Christian, it took at least 3 years of maintenance. And it's not maintenance that I performed. It was maintenance that God performed in me. As I became a Christian, when everything collapsed around me, and I turned to God, that's no simple story. I can't give you a simple version of that. But when that did, it took, like I say, about 3 years before I could even think about doing anything other than maintenance, just to get myself out of the mess that I was in. But when I came to God, He began to change things within me. I didn't start changing things. I didn't say, hey, I'm gonna become a Christian, so I'm going to stop drugs, I'm going to stop drinking, I'm gonna stop seeing multiple women, I'm gonna stop doing all these other things. I didn't say those things. I just said, God, here I am. I don't even know. It's either, you know, you exist or I'm going to commit suicide. So here's my options, because I had nothing else. And when I came to that conclusion, I just said, you know, I can't change me. I'm in this. This is where I'm at. This is who I am. But I'm coming to you because I need help. I discovered you exist. Now I need help. And things just began to change inside me. I didn't change it from the outside in, and make things suit better to a Christian lifestyle. God was changing things inside me. It was foreign to me. For the first time that I can ever remember feeling this, I felt the desire to be good. I had never felt that before. I didn't know what that meant. I felt the desire to be a good person. It was the strangest feeling ever. I was just like, what is this? And it just began to change my outlook, and my desires began to, you know, lean this way instead of that way. Things just fell off of me because I didn't want it, until, like I said, 3 years afterwards, then I felt like I was in a position where I could start putting something together as far as music is concerned, and the rest is history.
So how does where you've been, when you're sitting down to write lyrics, how are you able to turn those dark places you've been, where you've been, what you've been through, how are you able to turn those into song lyrics? Because writing songs is hard. At least it would be for me.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just tell a story out and out. I mean, you got so many syllables you can work with.
Right.
And you've got to be poetic about it. I think a lot of that has just been natural. I mean, I was into that kind of stuff. I've always into that kind of stuff. I wrote short stories and stuff like that. But you have to do that delicate dance of not sounding like you are pointing fingers at people, and yet you want them to understand, some things are better than other things. It's not, I mean, I honestly, how I write lyrics, this is probably strange for most people. This is my process. I listen to the music first, okay? They play music. They come up with some type of rhythm, they come up with melody, and I sing nothingness. Like, I'll just sing noises. I'll sing random words on top of that. And yeah, and it's just words that make no sense, but yet I'm forming the song as I'm doing that. And I let those sounds and syllables start to tell me what this song means. The feeling that I'm getting as we play, I start to sense what this song should be about. And I'll take those sounds and melodies and I'll sit down with a pad of paper. And as far as spiritually concerned, before I write, I always pray. And I'll start with one line. And I'll just build upon that. That's what this song is about. I'll say something that I'm feeling from this song, and then I just take that and let the rest just come. I don't know if that's, yeah.
I've never heard that before. That's actually it's like almost like songwriting in tongues almost. A little bit.
Yes, you could say, yeah. I never really thought that way, but yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just making sounds and let it flow.
Yeah. Let's go back to when I got involved with the band a little bit. What, about like 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago? It's been a while now. It was a complete accident. I think I was talking to Chad originally. We were doing like which ended up being a complete scam. I just didn't know it. The U-Rock thing.
Yeah.
Which I had no idea, and I should have, because it was so obvious. But man,
it was it sounded
what?
The offer just sounded so good, though.
I know. Like, it's one of those things like, well, what if it's not a scam and it's real and we don't do it? Like, what were your guys' thoughts when you were like, when you guys were hearing about all of this stuff? I mean, the U-Rock tour, basically, if people don't know what it was just, from what I remember, just this music tour where they hired all of us that apparently knew about music to do A&R, to go find bands, to sign on this national tour, to tour with Bullet for My Valentine, all these other bands, and you're going to get a spot on a national tour with these bands. And apparently none of the bands had ever heard of it before, and it was just a complete mess, man. What was your guys' thoughts when all that was going on? Do you remember any of that?
Yeah, I remember it. Because it was, when I first met you were a very excited guy, man. I mean, you're really passionate about what you do. And
right.
When I saw how excited you were and the things that you said, I was just like, I'm down. I am so down with this. This dude's really into this. He's trying to make a name for himself. And I was just like, whatever he's selling, I'm going to buy it. And so, I mean, you're a good salesman as far as that's concerned. And I loved it. I mean, I love the passion. I love how involved you want to be. And you think it sounds like it was an accident, but look at our history. Look at the things that have been going on since then. You think it was a mess, that we met, and how we met was a mess. It was all messed up. It was a scam. But you know what? I believe that was always meant to be. And when you approached us and you were, like I said, you were excited about it, telling us about it, and I was all in. I felt like, this is in some way, in some capacity, this has got to be God, because, you the things that you were saying and how it all just worked out. I mean, everything was coming together for us at the same time. You know, it was just, like I said, it was like 5 months in, we're getting signed and
Yeah.
we're just blowing up locally and you're approaching us and everything like that. So, you know, I was just like, hey man, this is happening. So even though it was
Right.
kind of a scam, I think it was only meant to be, man. But I
Good
mean,
things to
obviously, I was excited at just the prospect of playing with Bullet, which ironically, shortly thereafter, you actually introduced me.
forgot about. That's right. I did forget about that. I took you to the Bullet for My Valentine show where you got to meet the band. Yeah.
We got us
that was cool. We were in catering with them and everything. Yeah, that was a fun night. Yeah. And awkward interview with them, but it was fun.
Did you hear what I said?
I didn't hear that. No.
I said, and that's when you got that penis balloon.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. I'll tell you about that later. I have not told my wife that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
It or something. I don't know.
I don't know what happened to that thing. It's not as bad as it sounds. Yeah. Man, you guys are writing right now, man. You guys have been writing for a minute. You guys have been off the road for a minute now, man. The new music, man. How's it sounding? What part of the process are you guys at? And how's it sound compared to Advocate?
Well, we're on about the 9th song at this point, and I couldn't be any happier. There's going to be a little more diversity, I think, than in the past. And even though we have actually, we went from playing in A sharp to C, it honestly feels like, for the most part, this album will be a little heavier than Advocate.
Okay.
So much so that we're on like song 6, and I said, hey guys, we don't have anything to offer people that, you know, want to hear my vocals and the singing parts and stuff like that, that, you know, people that love like the song Enamored or Feed From Me, those kind of songs. We didn't really have anything like that up to like song 6. And so I said, you know, we've got to give them something. We still don't have anything as light as Enamored, but we're trying. So the last 3 songs we've been given more of that that unwanted feel. You know how there's those vocals wanted, and then the screams, and then more singing. Yeah. So we started trying to incorporate that back into it a little bit more. But as far as the intricacies of the music, again, a giant leap. It was a giant leap from Brotherhood to Advocate, and a giant leap from Advocate to what we're going to have now. So, and we do know the album name. We haven't released that yet. I want to. I want
you too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's a little I don't know how to put it, secret to it, as far as how the title and songs link and stuff like that. But we'll leave that for another time.
Yeah, Chad may want you to clear that with him before we let that out.
Yeah, but I could hear Chad, you know, jumping in my case about it. You know, he's the.
Hear Chad? No.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Dude, I want to thank you so much for taking time. This has been awesome, as always. I need to get down to your guys' area soon. Check it out. Check out the new stuff. And once this pandemic's done, we'll all be able to get together again.
You can hang out at a rehearsal night sometime.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Do it.
You know you're always invited. You are like an honorary member of the band. You always have been. You know that.
Yeah.
You've been our publicist.
Yeah, I
You've
know.
been our booking agent. No, man, you're one of us. So anytime you want.
Yeah, sorry about the booking thing again. That didn't go as well as we thought it would.
Experience. I mean, you guys into a lot of, we played with Soulfly and stuff like that. I mean, it was a good thing.
We got some good shows. We got some big ones. Tantric. Was Tantric the one where you almost got electrocuted?
Yes, when the storm came in and everything was wet. That's correct, and we had to shut it down. That was terrifying.
Is that also why you don't play? Is that also why you don't play barefoot anymore?
Yeah, it may have something to do with it. Yeah,
Right.
bad idea. Who does that?
You.
Take the socks off on cement with a storm and water on the stage. Yeah, I stopped doing that.
You and the dude from Glorious Sons. It's just you guys. That's it. No one else. I lost you there. There you are. Not sure what happened.
It interrupted.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I'll let you go, dude. Thank you again for taking time. I will get down to the rehearsal space soon. Just let me know when you guys are doing it, and we'll hook up, we'll connect, and it'll be a good time for all of us again.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Awesome, dude. I appreciate it.
Hey, love you, bro.
Love you too, man. We'll see you.